Listen, I'm gonna go on record. If Romney 100% came
Romney.
in,
I thought
if he
else.
actually came in, at 100%, let's just say it's a far shot. Absolutely, the guy's physique is just outrageous. I listen, as close as I am to Phil. Listen, I'm a realist about it. I mean, think how many times. I mean, we can go back in history and say, what if Paul Dillette ever got it together and against Dorian Yates? I mean, he dwarfed Dorian Yates. But truth of the matter is he's so big compared to everyone, and he's not really missing anything. If this guy puts it together, which I don't know what it's going to take, or if this is the year, or if it's ever going to happen, everyone's in trouble, and there's no doubting it. I think Phil, deep down inside, would agree, would probably never go on record and say that, but he's one of those guys that you're just like, oh, please don't get it together. If you're the champion, you're just trying to retain, because that guy is dangerous. There's never been anyone that's built like that guy ever in the business of bodybuilding, in the sport, whatever you want to call it. I think, he would win it for sure if he actually came in 100%.
Second that, without a doubt. I remember the first time I ever seen him, I thought that to myself, and actually I thought he would have gotten better over the years, and I was already predicting this guy's going to be a Mr. Olympia in a couple of years. For whatever reason, that haven't came to fruition yet. But it's kind of like watching Usain Bolt's run. You just want to see this guy go all out, just to be able to witness something like that. I just want to be here when Romney, if he does bring 100% to the game, I just want to be able to bear witness to that and lay my eyes on something that freaking exciting. It would be nothing nobody can do about it. Listen, there's just matchups. Listen, I don't care. Put me at 100% and have me fight Mike Tyson in his prime. I'm going to get my ass whooped real bad. That's just a bad matchup. And in the sport of bodybuilding, there's certain matchups that just no matter what you can do, you can't win. There are certain guys at 100% that just are never going to beat Phil if he's in the 90s percentile. And Romney's one of those guys. If he nails, I got to be honest, he really don't have to be 100%. If he 100%, I don't think I ever was 100%, and I did pretty good. I would beg to differ that Jay was ever 100%. So Romney's a greater and different type of freak than me and Jay was. It's almost like he has the best of both of us. He's a mutant of both of us, because he has the size of Jay, but then he has a small waist, and he flows like crazy. There's never been anybody like that at all. So dude wouldn't even have to nail 100%. But it's a huge what if, because we have to go off a person's track record and what we've seen. And it just doesn't seem like he's in striking range yet. But again, I just hope that I'm here and I can be at that show when he is in striking range, because god dang, that'd just be a sight to see. And that's like, being able to go to a freaking, Muhammad Ali fight when he was in his prime, or be able to shake freaking Bruce Lee's hand or something like that, just lifetime.
Flex Lewis in the Open, I don't think so. I think Flex Lewis now, he's going for his fifth title this year in the 212. I know they changed that division. It used to be 202. It's 212 now. But you know what? He's never going to win the Mr. Olympia with his height. And it's just, you go back to the days of Lee Priest. You competed with Lee Priest a million times. I didn't get to as much as you did. But you know what? The guy's, he's stacked. He's not gonna win. He can win maybe a Europa show or one of these other things, but he's not going to win the Arnold Classic, Ohio show, or the Mr. Olympia. And to me, that tarnishes his record. The guy's the best 212 athlete in the world. He calls himself Mr. Olympia. We know where the real weight is with the Mr. Olympia title, but the guy, listen, he's the best in his division. He's probably one of the best 212 guys we've seen. You can sit there and compare him to Lee Priest and Mohammed Benaziz's and all these guys. Listen, we can sit here and listen. It's disrespectful to leave certain guys out, but let's just say the shorter bodybuilders, the guys put together amazing. But you know what? There's still question that division whether there's guys. I think this guy Steph Ferocci coming back. He's dangerous in the 212s. He's going to come back next year. There's a lot of great guys, but I just don't think Flex with his height to weight ratio, what he can compete at, will really do any damage at the top. I'm thinking Mr. Olympia status, because listen, the guy's already Mr. Olympia 212. Where do you go from there? You only want to win the big show in the bigger division. So to me, it'd be a bad move for him. I don't think he's planning on doing it. I think he's going to plan on retiring out of the 212s and and hold the record on how many wins he's ever going to finish there.
Yeah, again, it's just matchups. Even Flex Lewis at 100% is just certain matchups he can never win. I could almost, Sean has admitted, publicly, and I can repeat it now. He's always, knew that he could never beat me because I had everything that he had, but I outweighed him by, almost 20 pounds and like for 3 inches or whatever. So what do you do when you have a person who has everything that you have and he's bigger and taller than you? It's a bigger version of you. So that could just never happen. Hopefully he's never thinking that. I think he's smarter than that. And like Jay said, this guy can build an incredible legacy and go down as an undefeated, 212 Mr. Olympia. So it would be smartest for him to do that. And you know what? Just keep that what if out there. People talking. That's great. It's like the what if Muhammad Ali would ever fought Bruce Lee. It never happened. But it's always a what if. But if he came out there and tried to go up against these guys at the Olympia, then you'll see his weaknesses. And a champion never want to show that at all.
It's like the Victor Richards story.
Oh my God!
What if he would have competed? We heard so many of that. That was talked way back.
But Flex Lewis would do a lot better than Victor Richards would. That's for sure. You hear me, Vic? Sorry, bro. But yeah. But the great thing about it is Flex is very respectful, unlike Victor was back when we competed. That was a huge slap in the face for us who were up there putting in the time and the hard work instead of making up these excuses. Flex is doing it. He's competing. He's on stage and he's handling his business. So I'm proud of him and let him continue doing what he's doing.
Number 5. It's coming up in 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Shoot, how many dark horses do I have? All right, so. This guy Josh, I don't know how you say his last name, from Australia. He got 3rd at the Arnold Classic, Ohio this year. He's a dark horse. Bonnick's in there. I think Cedric McMillan could be in the top 6 very easily with his showings early in the year. Compton's a question mark. He could be in there. Rolly Winkler, we don't know how he's going to show up. He's a monster right now. He could push some of those guys out. Listen, we're minus Kai Green, Dennis Wolf, and Branch Warren. Okay, two of those guys, because obviously Kai didn't compete last year, were in the top 6. So someone's picking up those 2 spots. And it can be any of the Rolly, it can be Cedric, it can be Compton, it can be Josh or Nathan DeAsher. I think he's got a great shot in there. But then you got the McCarvers and the Steve Kuklos and we talked about Bonnick, all these guys. Listen, the top 10 is going to be impossible. Yeah. Anyone guesses the top 10 in this contest, I give them a lot of credit. And it's just going to be by luck that they actually predict that, I think.
Yeah, I think it's going to go back to, I remember the first time I ever met Ron Love, and he had placed top 10 in the Miss Olympia. And you're like a demigod if you place in the top 10, for whatever
there were
reason.
Less guys back then.
Yeah, it was less guys and everything, but it was an honorable spot. You could rock around with your head high. Now kind of, if you're in a top 10, it's not really, an achievement, viewed on the sport. But I would definitely put, William Bonnet up there. It is, definitely. You're number 10 in the entire world in your own sport.
Top 20 is amazing.
It is amazing, but that's just the way it's sought out and looked after because, and that's just my opinion because I'm warped. Even though I took 2nd place, I was effed up and I still am. There's first and there's last. I don't give a damn, and I'm just hardened like that. So you lost. So there's going to be one happy guy and everybody else is going to be really upset. But there will be a lot of guys who are happy about their achievement because they're probably more sane than I am. But yeah, William Bonnick, I would definitely put up there. Cedric McMillan. Those would probably be the 2 guys that I would say and come and take those 2 top spots. But again, it's a what-if situation because you got a lot of the guys that Jay just mentioned. And if these guys don't come in their top condition, it's an easy door for some of these guys to walk into. So it's going to be one of the, I think, closest battles between, the number 2 spot all the way down to the top 10 spot where it has never been before. And it's going to be a heated battle, too.
That's really tough for me because, I'm a fan of both guys, and I just grew up in the era of Dorian Yates being the champ, and I watched him battle a lot of stiff competition that, listen, Dorian Yates might not have deserved to win everyone. I don't know. I mean, he probably could speak better because he stood there next to him. I never got a chance to compete with Dorian Yates. But I would think, and this is going by stats, Dorian Yates probably, because, he, I think, was pretty much favored. Like, I think by the scorecards and everything, he was always winning, like with no second guesses, really.
Yeah.
I don't know. You might be able to speak better than that. But I just think, publicized more. I think Dorian Yates was like, the magazines had more exposure to me than social media has. I think now the magazines have trailed off a lot. I mean, look, we're sitting here doing this interview on a camera. Back in, 10 years ago, it would have been in the magazines, and everyone would be like sitting waiting for this thing to come out and reading it and studying it and saying, wow, this means so much. But I just think social media has kind of changed the whole thing a little bit. I think Dorian Yates was definitely, one of those guys where his physique was just like a mind-boggled a lot of people. Not that Phil's isn't, but it's a different era, and I just think a lot of the guys respected Dorian Yates a lot more than Phil Heath, in my opinion. They just thought, okay, this guy's at a next level. I mean, he stepped up his physique in the middle of his reign to be like untouchable. I mean, what year was that? 1993?
93, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you were second that year,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's like, oh, forget it, show's over, or whatever it was, 6 weeks out. I don't know how you can speak a little bit more about it, but I just think, looking as I was a kid, I followed Dorian Yates. I just thought, wow, this guy's just at another level. And, with Phil, I just think, it's very, as much dominant as he is, he's not overpowering as much as Dorian Yates is.
Yeah, it's neither here nor there whether Dorian deserved to win all of those, because it doesn't matter. It's just opinion. And the same thing with Phil. My question is, did you beat him? And the answer would be no. Nobody has beaten him. So, but I would probably, and it's not because I competed in that era. I would probably have to lean towards Dorian being more dominant, and it's not because of Dorian. And again, it's not whether he deservingly won or not. He won. But it's the competition that he competed against. I mean, he defeated me. He defeated
Nasser
somebody, Sean Ray, Kevin LeBron, Paul Dillette, Chris Cormier, I can't forget it. So he defeated, what the world considers some of the, better bodybuilders in the 90s. He defeated all of us, and I'd have to argue, is the sport that deep with that many great top ranked bodybuilders right now? And it wouldn't be, and he came out on top. More so than not, and then if you look at just their physical structure alone, obviously I lean towards Phil look more. He has more my type of look more, and it's more pleasing to the eye. But that's opinion. It's not a fact. It's opinion. But if you look at their two physiques, they're broadly different, and I think Dorian was doing something that hadn't been done at that time ever. Unfortunately, there was a similarity of me to Phil. There was a similarity of Kevin to Phil. So it's not that identically different, but Dorian had definitely brought a whole completely different game. He changed the game, just like Ronnie did. When Ronnie came along, he completely freaking changed the game. So I will probably have to lean towards Dorian with that.
Yeah, and I just want to touch, listen, they made this whole thing out. When you had the magazines, the things weren't exposed as much. So they made it sound like Dorian was like a dungeon trainer. He was training his ass off. So, like, I think the fans respected Dorian a lot more because, listen, you didn't get inside and know the personality as much. The guy barely spoke. There was no social media then. So I think, you're looking at dominance. You're thinking, God, this guy trains in a shitty gym in England, and he just gets the job done. And he shows never shows his physique. It just all of a sudden he shows up on game day. Then he goes back home and he goes back to the job again. So people had this whole aura about who Dorian was. So I think that's people's perception. That was my perception. Like, listen, I know Phil's, he's gifted and he trains hard. All of us did. But listen, I'll admit, I probably didn't train as hard as Dorian Yates did. I didn't take it as serious as Dorian Yates did. I booked guest appearances. I traveled all over the planet. Phil Heath is doing the same thing. Dorian Yates was a bodybuilder that just trained ate and slept as a bodybuilder. He didn't care about chasing dollars and all these other things. He stayed home. He collected that Mr. Olympia check every year and went back to England. He never heard from him again. That was so to me. That's a dominant. Like, that's a hardcore Mr. Olympia, and I think anyone out there that reads or knew about Dorian Yates would agree with that.
Yeah, I agree. Even on my my documentary that I had the pleasure of having Dorian on there, he point blank said, you know, if Flex would ever train like me,
True, I read that.
It wouldn't have happened, you know. So, and it didn't. I mean, I never lied about my training. I never lied about things I did, you know, how I dressed so I could go out to a club afterwards without having to change clothes. I mean, that is what it is. I regret those things now, but, you know, I don't fight those battles. So that's a battle I can never win. But, you know, like Jay said, those are, it's a multitude of reasons why he would be perceived as more dominant. And I think, you know, just that whole mystique, because you didn't have the access to him. You know, back then you can come in the Gold's Gym and see any one of us. You know, it's like Arnold. You know, no matter how great Arnold is to me and a personal friend, you can go in the firehouse and you can see him. You know, so the accessibility, but having him just away, you never got a chance to see him, and there was no photos. And they were pretty smart when they did put a photo in the magazine. It was a hell of a ass photo. I still remember those in black and white photos of him that just effed everybody's mind. It's like, what are you going to do about this?
Yeah.
You know, so it's a multitude of reasons, you know, but at the end of the day, hey, I'll point blank say I'm more of a fan of Phil's physique than I am of his. But the question was who was more dominant, and I would have to go with Dorian with that.